So yeah, I'm still on this. So you can look at my palette. Let's see what we have on here. What do we have? We've got yellow, we have blue, we have red, and we have black. And here is a little white, even though I haven't yet used white in this. Now, one thing that I need to tell you is that you need to know as an artist. The very first thing you need to do while you're painting is to study your reference. Look at the kind of colors it has, and then only have those colors on your palette, or have the primaries that will guide you into getting, those very basic colors of your subject. Like in this, I had these rocks. They are reddish, but them being red or reddish doesn't mean that I'll only use red. Because there are areas that I have to tone, or rather there are areas naturally that are not really red, as red as the red I have here. So mine is ensuring that I have the correct colors on the palette before I start painting. Now another thing that I want to say is in this kind of painting, it's a large one. See where it is. It's a large one. So sometimes in such cases you find that the brush, like this brush cannot, if I start painting with it from here, then get back here, get back here, it's small. So I need a larger brush, especially when I'm beginning to now create my composition. And we create composition through, first of all, sketching. So there is the sketching. Once you are done with the sketching, you start now the second sketching, which is blocking with color. So color blocking, very necessary. And that is where the main color of your reference comes in. With the larger brush, get your main color and do apply or paint. Paint with a large brush, but not just painting with a large brush. Looking at whatever you're doing. Look at your objects in that composition. Then, based on what colors they are, you get that color from the palette and apply it with a bigger brush, such that it takes you less time. It takes you like even less than an hour to just block with color. Even 1 hour I think is more. And the very first sketch of color that is blocking should already give you that impression or that expression of that very subject that you are creating, and the whole painting. So for me, I like now using the bigger brush. And now once I'm done with the bigger brush, I'll now pick a brush like this. And what I'll do with a brush like this is I tone these these large masses with a smaller brush. Toning is these objects are very natural. So since they are natural, they tend to curve. So it could be a red apron like this, but because I'm curvy, you find this area is not as bright red as this area. So you begin with your blacks so that you tone it, and so that you represent that roundness. Toning actually is to bring out that roundness. So when I use now this, I'll use it as if I'm sketching again. So I begin from the lines again, from the edges again, from my contours again. And I go with it. Slowly by slowly now. Now this one should take you more time. So slowly by slowly establish those shades, those shadows, just establish them. And they should all come from these lines, the contours that we create. these lines, these lines, these lines, these lines, you know, that shading, that toning down of those values so that you have a rounded surface has to come from the contours. Now, once I'm done with that, I have a painting, but a painting that is somehow, it's cartoonish, yeah, with no details. Now, I'll get a smaller brush than this and now get on creating the details. And the details are supposed to be a reflection of what my reference photo is. And so those details, I again put them down, but with a smaller brush this time around, not this one. And that's the main process. So the main process of painting involves the blocking and the choice of brushes. The sketching, blocking, and choice of brushes. So the very first layers, do with large brush because you're still within the sketch. No, kichora, when you draw, when you draw, it's a sketch. When you put the first layer of color, it's also a sketch. Painting is a sketch that is worked on until you think like you've found the results. At that moment when you feel, oh, now it's good, and you leave it, it's still a sketch, yeah, because you can still do more if you wanted to. But then there is a time when it reaches, and then you look at it, vis-a-vis your reference photo, and you are okay. Even though most of the times that is not the final stroke, the final brush, but in the end, it's still a sketch. It's still a sketch, but a sketch that we can say it's now an artwork that we can start a conversation with. Here I'm not yet done, but I'll be done. And one other thing that I wanted to say is when you're dealing with these colors, with red especially, there is something in painting and color that does not really, let me use this term, make sense, but it does eventually, practically. When I'm using this red, for me to get a darker of this red, I'll be using my black to combine this red. Yeah, for me to get a darker of this red, I'll need to get this black and put it here. So this is still red, it's still red, but if you look at it, it's like it's red ochre. I can even darken it even more, so that I have a more rounded figure, a more rounded, well-rounded figure. So the number of values that you put and correctly, it gives you a more realistic, if I may say, a more realistic figure drawing. Now, this is toning down. We tone down from this to this. That's toning down. So there is toning up, right? There is toning up because a painting, or rather these strokes, they are those areas that are really protruding, that get hit by the source of light, or rather by the source, by the light that is around that area. So this red doesn't turn into a color like this, like a very bright color like immediately. It's got to go through processes. So it comes from this red. Now from this red to this red. Now here is where we are lightening it up. Now toning it up. So we tone the value. You tone down to get darker of red. Now you tone it up to get highlights. Getting highlights, you can actually use this as the main, and this one you can actually have three colors. very dark, the mid-tone, and now this red, which is the main color, as the main highlight. But the sun, when the sun is around, when there is that light around, normally, depending again with time, we have this red going to something that is orangey. So pick some yellow, put it here. Some yellow, put it here. Now, this is red, and this is red. But if you look at this, so orangey. So orangey design, it's been toned up to create a highlight of this red. Right? So I could go ahead and even have another layer of more of yellow in now this highlight. Let me show you what we get here. More of yellow in there, so that we have like the main highlight, the main light. Yeah, so the main light could look like this. So all these are can be. Let me just illustrate them here so that you see there. Put them here so that you see where. Now what I have right now is this, the lightest, but it's from red. Yeah? And then let me wash this. And then we have this with less yellow. See that? Clean the brush again. Now we go to our main color, our main hue, which is red. See that? Then we start toning this down. Yeah? We get this. See what I'm having, eh? And then we go lower. We go lower like that. Now, this is a scheme of color, and you can do so much, pretty much with this. Yeah, you can do pretty much with this. Let me add this so that it looks. My brush had water. I mean, a lot of water. Yeah. So, if you look at this now, this is my main palette here. This darks. Yeah, this is this main here. This red here, I think I've really toned it down so much. Yeah, but it's still, if you look at it, you'll identify this as a red painting, right? You come to this and you find it here. You find it here. Yeah, it's the red ochre. And then you go to yellow ochre, which is now our utmost highlight up here, which also forms the color of my main subject, because the lion is my main subject in this painting. Yeah, even though it being my main subject, I also have to consider the environment so that I create a realistic place, or rather space, for it. Yeah, so these are acrylic paintings, and you mix them with water. Yeah, you mix it with water, and then it blends nicely once you are used to how to blend it, because it's not like oils. Acrylics dry very fast upon exposition to air, and that is unlike oils. Oils keep calm, and they stay around for long. But with acrylics, things are different. They dry very fast, so you've got to have that skill of maybe if I'm doing this painting today, definitely it won't end today. I won't finish it today, so maybe I may finish it tomorrow. But these are acrylics, and by the time I'm coming tomorrow, they'll be dried. So there will not be that possibility of me being able to mix my painting, or rather my paints, on top of this now. So I've got to know how to like go around there, and that's the main problem with most artists who are tackling acrylics. But that should not be an issue. What you want is what you get from here. So if you are doing like this shade here yesterday, if I come today, I look at the shade I was doing yesterday, yeah, and then I'll get to mix that, and then continue from that point and just go on, because it's a painting, and you can't finish it in a day. Sometimes it gets dried, but then you have to go on doing it. Yeah, so don't fear it. Acrylics are good, yeah, but they are unlike oils. I love oils, but here in this case, I also love acrylics. You see how they come through. For me, I think acrylics are not bad. But then, this is a great class for you, especially you artists who want to come and do paintings. This is a very great class. You get this because this is a you won't be able, you won't be taught this by a teacher in school, because teachers in school, most of them are teachers. Yeah, you need somebody who does this like on a daily, and somebody who is an artist who paints and who does these things, who has this experience, because these are things, even you may study them, but in practicing it becomes a little harder for one to be able to go around it. But when you have this kind of knowledge, then for you it becomes easier. So you work from the main color. The main color could be blue, could be yellow, could be any other color, the main color. But then that color, if it is on a natural form, then that color will be rounded, and that roundedness means that that color must be toned down and also must be toned up. So toning down and up is from this color, tone down, from this color, you tone up. So you need to know what colors you're supposed to use for you to be able to achieve that realistic value gradient that then you apply on your painting, and it becomes more realistic, right? So exercise this. I'm a teacher for arts. I can teach that. You can get me on my number 0728899651. I'm a Kenyan artist. So that we learn this, because this is a very critical area of study for artists. Yeah, most artists at a campus, most of them are unable to mix color, to tone down color, to give a realistic gradient to their paintings because of this problem. It's a very great problem, but I'm here to help you tackle it. This is not the last. Now, if you wanted to pop even more from this color, from this yellow ochre, you add what we call white. White, titanium white, very nicely, very nice, because it's a bright white. There are some whites that are grayish, some whites that are not really white. So get titanium white. It's great. It's just like this paper here. I think this one is actually dull. Yeah, but it's white, but it's dull. I think this is ivory. But when you do with oh no, this is matte. When you do with ivory, ivory is normally whiter than this. So, and that I think is the color for titanium white. So I mean the correct shade for titanium white. So titanium white plus this, it gives you now that highlight, that highlight, like you can see of this painting. See this, So here you have again, look at yellow here. This is yellow, pure yellow. It's pure yellow. Yeah, but pure yellow on yellow ochre gives you something like this, which is almost like a yellow ochre. But look at how now white transitions this and makes it even pop out more. Look at where I've used whites.